Hello, everybody. My name is Ernie, and this is my Module 2.4 precedent analysis on the McAllen Building condominiums. This project is owned by Papa's Properties. It is located in Boston, Massachusetts. It was done by Office DA Architects in part of a joint venture program with the architecture firm Burt Hill. This project was completed in April of 2007, and it is considered an urban project previously developed on land. The project type is a mixed-use residential multifamily, five or more units, and retail store. This building has a gross floor area of 350,000 square feet. And some interesting things about this project, it's 140 units in total. Uh, it can save up to 600,000 gallons of water per year. It's 30% less, consumes 30% less electricity than the conventional building. And its design is heavily focused on green design, incorporating a way in which that green lifestyle is marketed to the community of Boston. Um, so some of the features include technology that saves water, reduces electricity use, and also this project was LEED Gold certified because of its sloped green roof that controls stormwater drainage, filters pollutants, and carbon dioxide out of the air, reduces heating and cooling loads, and reduces the project's contribution to the urban heat island effect, as well as providing an ecosystem for wildlife. So a little bit about the location of this building. It's located near downtown Boston. It is located in an area that is mostly considered commercial industrial. There's also a railway nearby. This is a closer view of an aerial view. We can kind of see what's around, and we see that there's quite a bit of industrial commercial warehouse typologies as well as the train next door. This is a site plan of the building itself. And then here I drew these floor plans for three types of units. There's the three bedroom, the two bedroom, and the one bedroom. So something interesting about the three bedroom is that it has two doors. This door kind of leads to that kitchen area. So I'm guessing this is more for like staff. It has plenty of room for dining and entertaining. And then it has these three rooms. It has this big main primary bedroom with this private restroom. I thought that was pretty cool. And then for the two bedroom, um, we have a little small kitchen. We have a restroom, some living dining space, and then we also have the two bedrooms. And then we have the one bedroom in the middle, which also has a small kitchen, a lot of room for dining and entertaining, a small bathroom, and then bedroom. So these are isometric views of each unit. We can kind of see how the spaces are laid out and how everything kind of flows in these spaces. Here I have an isometric diagram kind of showing the program relations. So we see that the dwelling units are part of this, I guess, sort of a like a perimeter block typology. And then we see the amenity spaces, excuse me, making up this big chunk of green space, private green spaces. We also have some retail um, at street level, which kind of encourages that street level pedestrian traffic. And then we have covered parking underneath the building. So this diagram kind of shows us a little bit more about the green roofs. So this project has a sloped green roof that controls stormwater drainage, filters pollutants and carbon dioxide. Uh, and the planning system on the upper floors holds, absorbs, and slowly evaporates stormwater. Any remaining water is directed to holding tanks that store water to be used for drip irrigation on the lower green roof. They also use drought-resistant native plants that require no irrigation. And by using these plants, this design initiative kind of promotes that natural wildlife habitat for regional birds and insects. These are the elevations. So this was a very interesting building because it has this very complex massing, and to be completely honest, it was a bit difficult to model just because of everything that's going on. But I also found it very interesting and challenging. This is some project imagery that just kind of shows uh, the type of material that's used on the walls. It kind of shows the green roofs, the slope green roofs, and how everything just kind of ties together. And then some of the key ideas and lessons from this project that I found very interesting was the use of um, pretty much rainwater for irrigation of the site that's collected and stored from the green roof. I thought that was pretty cool. Uh, Also, the eastern and slopes down to an intimate scale. And this kind of mirrors the more traditional buildings, so brickwork and storefronts that are located on that particular elevation. But then on the north and the south facades, we see these aluminum panels that are shown in this picture, to kind of reflect that industrial neighborhood. So I thought it was very interesting how in one building they were able to kind of, depending on where that facade was facing, they kind of tailor it to the buildings that were around that area, given that this particular project is in a at an intersection where there's on one side you kind of have those more traditional brick retail spaces, but then on the other sides you have those more industrial commercial buildings. So I think they did a very good job at kind of like tying both typologies into one building and making sure that there was consistency on its facades. So they use opera windows in order to bring in that natural ventilation and cooling uh, when the seasons are appropriate. Also, the insulated walls and windows add to the acoustic qualities of the indoor spaces. Frames and double glazing serve to protect occupants from noise of the adjacent bus station, train terminal, and overhead planes, as there's also an airport nearby. Also, the HVAC system is pretty efficient. They use high efficiency water source heat pumps. And then something that I also found very interesting is the use of a staggered truss structural system. So this system was very efficient because it allowed him to use less steel than a traditional conventional structural system. But something that's also very interesting is that it allowed them to have higher ceilings and increase open plan area without the interruption of columns. So this also made it to where they can have more freedom as to the design of the units themselves. And it also kind of allows them to change the purpose of the building if necessary at any point. So it allows for changes in the future. Something that they suggested was potentially turning the building into an office space or a community college with classrooms replacing living areas. This accommodating structural system is, it's a huge uh, step towards long-term adaptive reuse, which I found it very interesting. So also, I also found interesting that they chose to use a lot of rapidly renewable resources for their materials. So they used wood fibers, grass cloth, bamboo, cork wallpaper, those type of renewable materials. That was very interesting, as well as some of the material used in the structure and the framing of walls. And then just the design itself. I really liked how they designed something that was maybe a bit minimalist when it came to the interior spaces, but that was on purpose in order to allow each occupant to kind of modify their condominiums, to their own liking and kind of grow and be flexible with their floor plan. I think that's very important. In this particular case, these are condos, so people are buying them and they have that freedom. But I think it's also important for any type of multifamily residential to kind of have that think about that ahead of time. Should anything change, I thought that was very interesting. And then here's a picture of the massing studies that they did. A lot of the big focus was to make sure that terrace green roof space had sunlight. So they played around with different massing to make sure that their massing had enough sunlight, and make sure that green roof had the sunlight it needed to grow. So that just kind of shows that. The massing also came from zoning regulations, so that was also interesting. And then they also took into account the weather, the climate conditions, and make sure that, for example, the northeast wall presented a unique set of challenges for design of the building. The project team situated the building so a large percentage of surface area would face south, allowing for the use of passive solar strategies for heating. The walls and green roof are designed with exceptionally high R values, well above state energy code requirements. And this is just to ensure that the heat obtained from solar gain is not lost. The building's envelope was designed to exceed code in the south wall insulation values by 50%, glass U values by 50%, glass SHGC values by 22%. So I think that was very interesting how they kind of modified the R values of their walls in order to, retain some of that heat um, gain. And, I guess this is something that you see a lot in the north. Most of the projects that I've seen have been in the south where, we're kind of focused on making sure that we're reducing that solar gain. But it's interesting how up north it's the opposite. They actually want to make sure that they retain a lot of it, especially in the wintertime. So it's cool to see how they're able to achieve that using these strategies. And something also interesting, they make sure that daylight was pretty abundant in these spaces by allowing them, these oversized windows to make sure that they fill the space with as much natural light as possible. This is just a isometric overlay of a picture. So this kind of shows us the different elevations. So we see the north. how they use that bronze aluminum panels to reflect the industrial neighborhood on that particular side. But then on the west, they used glass curtain walls, in order to respond to the Boston skyline, as this kind of faces that side of town. And then this is a trace overlay of a section. So this kind of shows us the retail, the parking, and the units. And it just kind of shows us how the different types of units are laid out on the building. Something very interesting about this project is that the floor plans are not really, you know, they're very different. Going from one level to another, things change quite a bit, and you don't see much of a consistent floor plan. But this, looking at it from this section view, kind of allows you to see the pattern that they have going on. And it looks like they kind of alternate floor plans, every 2 floors, every 3 floors. But yeah, I think that was very interesting. So this has been my presentation. Thank you for your time.